The grand piano sat silent, bathed in the amber glow of a single spotlight, its polished keys reflecting the emptiness of the stage. A hush fell over the audience, a collective anticipation that vibrated in the air. Then, a figure emerged from the wings, moving with a deliberate, shuffling grace. He was dressed in a sharp suit, his face serene, framed by dark glasses that concealed the world from him, and him from the world. As he reached the piano, his hands, large and expressive, found the keys with an almost mystical certainty. A single chord hung in the air, rich and resonant, a sonic invitation to a realm where sight was irrelevant and feeling was everything. This was Ray Charles, the genius, about to embark on another journey through sound, pulling his listeners along with him. For decades, the world knew Ray Charles as a titan, a musical force of nature who defied categories, blending gospel, blues, jazz, and country into a revolutionary sound known as soul. They saw the dazzling smile, the iconic head sway, the seemingly effortless command of every note. They heard the raw, emotive voice that could convey joy, sorrow, redemption, and longing, sometimes all within a single phrase. He was an enigma, a man who navigated a sighted world with an unseeing gaze, yet saw deeper into the human heart than most. He built an empire of sound, transcending racial barriers and musical genres, becoming a global icon whose influence echoed in every corner of popular music. Yet, beneath the layers of legendary performances and public adoration lay a complex individual, a man forged in hardship, driven by an insatiable hunger for expression and shadowed by personal demons. The spotlight, for all its brilliance, could only illuminate so much. It captured the showman, the innovator, the voice that captivated millions, but it often obscured the man who had battled profound loss, systemic prejudice, and internal struggles for nearly his entire life. The camera would have lingered on his hands as they danced across the keys, a graceful ballet of fingers finding harmony, transforming ivory and ebony into pure emotion. It would have zoomed in on the slight tilt of his head, a gesture both of concentration and deep immersion, as if he were listening to a different kind of music, one playing only inside his mind. The audience, rapt, leaned forward, drawn into the magnetic field of his presence. They were not just hearing a song, they were witnessing a phenomenon, a man who had pulled himself from the depths of despair to touch the heavens with his art. His public perception was one of triumph over adversity, a blind savant whose musical genius knew no bounds. But the truth was far richer, far more human. It was a narrative laced with profound sorrow, fierce independence, and a relentless pursuit of sensation in a world he could only feel. This was not merely a story of music, it was a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a journey into the heart of a genius whose greatest insights were born not of sight, but of soul. And as the first notes flowed, liquid and pure, the stage was set for a deeper exploration of the man who dared to be truly free, truly expressive, truly Ray Charles. Ray Charles Robinson was born on September 23, 1930, in Albany, Georgia, a small city in the heart of the South, steeped in history and struggling under the weight of racial segregation. His birth came into a family marked by deep poverty, yet sustained by resilience and a profound connection to their community. His mother, Aretha Williams, was a sharecropper, a woman of immense strength and unwavering faith who instilled in young Ray a fierce independence and a profound sense of dignity. She had given birth to him at a young age, and the challenges of raising a child in the Jim Crow South, often without the consistent presence of Ray's father, Bailey Robinson, were immense. Bailey was a railroad mechanic and a laborer, a transient figure who drifted in and out of Ray's early life, leaving a void that would later be filled by the powerful, guiding presence of his mother. Ray's early childhood was spent in Greenville, Florida, a small, rural town surrounded by swamps and pine forests, a world far removed from the glittering stages he would one day command. He had a younger brother, George, who was a constant companion in those formative years. The socio-economic environment of Greenville was one of deep hardship for Black families. Life was centered around the church, the fields, and the tight-knit community that offered solace and support against the harsh realities of poverty and racial discrimination. Despite the lack of material wealth, Ray's early childhood was filled with the vibrant sounds of the South. He was surrounded by gospel music from the church, the mournful cries of the blues drifting from juke joints, and the rhythmic chants of field workers. These sounds seeped into his very being, forming the foundational lexicon of his musical genius. Even as a very young child, Ray exhibited an extraordinary fascination with music. He was drawn to the piano at Mrs. Wiley Pittman's Red Wing Cafe, a local juke joint. Mrs. Pittman, a kind woman who ran the establishment, recognized the boy's insatiable curiosity and began to teach him how to play, showing him the chords, allowing his small fingers to explore the vast sonic landscape of the instrument. These early lessons, informal as they were, ignited a spark that would never be extinguished. Then tragedy struck. At the age of 5, Ray witnessed the horrific drowning of his younger brother George in a washtub. The memory of George's frantic struggles, of his own inability to help, haunted Ray for the rest of his life, a traumatic event that deepened his already sensitive spirit. Soon after, another profound change began to manifest. His eyesight, which had been slowly deteriorating due to glaucoma, began to fail rapidly. By the age of 7, Ray Charles Robinson was completely blind. The world, once a vibrant tapestry of color and light, receded into an eternal darkness. This profound loss was not a barrier to his musical development, but paradoxically, a catalyst. Deprived of sight, his other senses sharpened, particularly his hearing, allowing him to perceive the nuances of sound with an almost supernatural clarity. He learned to navigate his world through touch, smell, and most importantly, through the intricate symphony of sounds that surrounded him. His mother, recognizing his talent and understanding the challenges he would face, made a pivotal decision. She sent him to the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind in St. Augustine. This institution, though a place of structured learning, became Ray's true conservatory. Here, he learned to read and write music in Braille, mastering classical piano, clarinet, trumpet, and alto saxophone. He absorbed everything from Bach and Beethoven to Chopin and ragtime. But the school also had its own dance band, where Ray could immerse himself in the popular music of the day, playing jazz and blues, experimenting with arrangements, and honing his improvisational skills. This initial exposure to the structured world of music education, combined with his raw, innate talent and the rich musical heritage of his childhood, laid the groundwork for the revolutionary artist he would become. His early motivations were not merely to play music, but to understand it, to master it, to translate the world he could no longer see into the language of sound. He was driven by an unyielding desire to express himself, to connect, and to find his place in a world that often seemed designed to exclude him. The piano for Ray became more than an instrument. It was his voice, his eyes, his very soul. The journey from the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind to the world stage was a grueling ascent for Ray Charles, a path paved with relentless effort, profound setbacks, and an unshakable belief in his own musical vision. After leaving the school in 1945, at the age of 15, he embarked on a solitary and often perilous odyssey through the Southern club circuit. He was an orphaned, blind teenager, navigating a world that offered little mercy to those perceived as vulnerable. Poverty was a constant, biting reality. He often slept in bus stations, ate whatever meager food he could afford, and played for pennies, sometimes for nothing, just for the chance to touch a piano. Discrimination, both racial and against his blindness, was a daily obstacle. Club owners exploited him, paying him less than sighted musicians, and audiences sometimes dismissed him as a novelty. Yet Ray persevered. He played every kind of music imaginable: country, blues, jazz, boogie-woogie, learning to adapt his style, to play by ear, to absorb the nuances of each genre. He developed an uncanny ability to hear a song once and play it back perfectly, a testament to his sharpened auditory senses. His relentless efforts were fueled by an internal fire, an insatiable desire to make music his life. He honed his piano technique, developing his distinctive left-hand bass lines that echoed the blues and boogie-woogie greats, and his right-hand melodies that soared with jazz improvisation. He cultivated his unique vocal style, a raw, emotive blend that could shift from a gospel shout to a bluesy moan, a sound entirely his own. He joined various bands, often facing the challenge of integrating his blind experience into the group dynamics. He learned to trust his ears implicitly, to communicate musically with his bandmates, building a reputation as a prodigy, despite his youth and his disability. These years were a crucible, forging his resilience and sharpening his artistic edge. He crisscrossed Florida, then ventured further, eventually making his way to Seattle, Washington, a bold move for a young black man from the South in the late 1940s. He later explained his choice. "I figured if I went as far away as I could, I wouldn't meet anybody that I knew." This desire for a fresh start, away from the familiar constraints of the South, revealed his deep-seated independence. In Seattle, he met Quincy Jones, a young, aspiring musician who would become a lifelong friend and collaborator. Quincy recognized Ray's unparalleled talent, a raw genius waiting to explode. Ray formed his own trio, the McSun Trio, playing jump blues and early rock and roll. His breakthrough began to materialize when he signed with Swingtime Records in 1949. His early recordings were often criticized for mimicking the style of Nat King Cole and Charles Brown, smooth jazz pop that didn't fully unleash his unique voice. This was a pivotal period of self-discovery where he grappled with finding his authentic sound. He experimented, pushed boundaries, and slowly began to infuse his recordings with the raw gospel passion he had known as a child, blending it with the secular blues. The public and critical reception to his emerging sound was initially cautious, but quickly turned to widespread admiration. His move to Atlantic Records in 1952 marked a turning point. Here, under the guidance of Ahmet Ertegun and Jerry Wexler, Ray was given the freedom to truly innovate. He began recording his own compositions, injecting gospel fervor into rhythm and blues, a revolutionary fusion that would become known as soul music. Songs like I Got a Woman, 1954, with its church-like call and response and secular lyrics, sent shockwaves through the music world. It was a bold, unprecedented blend that captivated audiences and ignited controversy, particularly among some religious figures who saw it as sacrilege. But the public responded with overwhelming enthusiasm. The emotional depth, the raw energy, the sheer originality of his sound resonated deeply. He was creating something entirely new, a sound that spoke directly to the soul. His rising fame had a dramatic impact on his personal life and financial status. The days of sleeping in bus stations were replaced by packed concert halls, recording studios, and a burgeoning income. He was no longer just surviving. He was thriving, able to provide for himself and to support his extended family. He moved out of cramped apartments into more comfortable homes, yet the demands of constant touring and recording brought a new set of pressures. Personal relationships, particularly his marriage to Delabia Howard, often suffered under the strain of his relentless schedule and his burgeoning celebrity. The public's insatiable appetite for his music meant less time for private life, a trade-off that many artists experience. But for Ray, who had always valued his independence and self-reliance, this new reality brought its own complexities. He remained focused, however, on his art, pushing forward with a drive that defied his physical limitations, transforming every struggle into a profound note in the symphony of his life. Ray Charles's life, both on and off the stage, was a complex tapestry woven with passionate romantic entanglements and public scandals that often mirrored the raw intensity of his music. He was a man of immense charm and charisma, a magnetic force that drew people to him, and his relationships, while often deeply affectionate, were rarely simple. His first significant relationship that garnered public attention was with Louise Mitchell, whom he married in 1951. Their union was brief, lasting only a year, and occurred early in his career before the full explosion of his fame. The pressures of his nascent musical journey, his constant touring, and the inherent challenges of being a blind musician trying to make his way in a sighted world proved too much for the young marriage. Louise reportedly found it difficult to adapt to his demanding lifestyle and his wandering eye, even in those early days. His most enduring and central romantic relationship was with Della B. Howard Robinson, whom he married in 1955. Della was a strong, grounded woman who provided a sense of stability and normalcy in Ray's chaotic life. She became the mother of 3 of his children, and for many years she was the steady anchor in his world, a counterbalance to his relentless touring and his growing fame. Their relationship was characterized by deep love and mutual respect, but it was also profoundly strained by Ray's philandering. Ray was a man of insatiable appetites, and his success brought him access to countless admirers. He openly maintained relationships with multiple women throughout his marriage to Della, leading a complicated double life. This was not always a secret. His extramarital affairs were an open secret within his inner circle, and eventually became whispered tabloid fodder, though the media of the time was less invasive than it is today. The societal context of these entanglements was complex. In the mid-20th century, particularly within the music industry, male artists, especially those who embodied a certain kind of rebellious charisma, were often given considerable leeway regarding their personal lives. While morality clauses existed in contracts for some Hollywood stars, they were less stringently applied to musicians, especially those operating within the rhythm and blues and jazz scenes where a certain bohemian lifestyle was often tolerated, if not expected. Ray navigated these expectations with a nonchalant ease, often dismissing any criticism with a shrug or a joke. He possessed a powerful allure, and women were consistently drawn to his talent, his wit, and his undeniable presence. The emotional toll on Della, however, was immense. She endured years of his infidelity with remarkable dignity, often choosing to focus on raising their children and maintaining the sanctity of their home. There were reports of painful arguments, of Della's quiet suffering, but she remained fiercely loyal to him for many years, understanding perhaps a part of his nature that compelled him to seek constant stimulation and affection. Ray, for his part, often spoke of Della with deep affection and gratitude, acknowledging her strength and her pivotal role in his life. He often remarked, "Della was a wonderful woman, a good woman, and she held me down." Despite the numerous other women in his life, Della remained his wife for 22 years, their marriage finally ending in divorce in 1977. Beyond Della, Ray fathered a total of 12 children with 10 different women. While not all of these relationships were long-term or deeply romantic, they speak to the pervasive pattern of his romantic life. He had children with several of his backup singers, including Margie Hendricks of the Raylettes, with whom he had a son, Charles Wayne Hendricks. These liaisons often caused friction within his professional and personal circles, creating intricate webs of relationships and responsibilities. He was often generous with his children financially, but his constant touring and complex personal life meant he was not always a consistently present father figure. His romantic life was a testament to his complex character, a man capable of profound love and connection, yet driven by an insatiable hunger that often led him down paths of complication and heartbreak. These entanglements were not mere footnotes, they were integral chapters in the unfolding drama of Ray Charles's life, revealing the deeply human vulnerabilities beneath the veneer of the genius. The zenith of Ray Charles's career was not a single isolated peak, but a sprawling, majestic mountain range of groundbreaking achievements that redefined American music and solidified his status as an unparalleled innovator. His peak began in the mid-1950s with Atlantic Records, where he forged the very essence of soul music, blending the raw emotion of gospel with the earthy rhythms of blues. I Got a Woman, 1954, was the seismic shift, a song that sounded unlike anything before it, daring to fuse the sacred and the secular. This was followed by a torrent of hits that became foundational to his sound: A Fool for You, Drown in My Own Tears, Hallelujah, I Love Her So, and What Did I Say? The latter, released in 1959, was a pure explosion of spontaneous creativity, a call and response masterpiece born from a late-night jam session that captivated audiences with its infectious energy and suggestive lyrics. These songs weren't just hits, they were sonic revolutions, laying the groundwork for entire genres. In 1959, Ray made a bold move to ABC Paramount Records, a decision that would expand his reach far beyond the R&B charts and into the mainstream. This new deal gave him unprecedented artistic control, including ownership of his master recordings, a revolutionary concept for a black artist at the time. Here, he proved his versatility, shedding any remaining genre constraints. He took a classic country song, I Can't Stop Loving You, 1962, and transformed it into a majestic orchestral soul ballad that topped both the pop and R&B charts, shocking purists but captivating millions. This track, from his landmark album Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music, was a daring experiment that paid off handsomely, opening up new avenues for cross-genre pollination and demonstrating his unique ability to find the soul in any melody. He followed this with blues anthems like Hit the Road Jack, 1961, jazz-infused tracks and pop standards, constantly pushing boundaries and proving his genius across the musical spectrum. His public persona during this period was that of the genius. He was a captivating performer, known for his signature head sway at the piano, his foot stomping, and the intense, almost spiritual connection he forged with his audience. On stage, he was a force of nature, his voice soaring from a tender croon to a guttural scream, his hands dancing across the keys with breathtaking dexterity. He radiated charisma, a man completely at ease in his own skin, utterly confident in his talent. The dark glasses were his trademark, lending an air of mystery, but his expressive face, often contorted in moments of raw emotion, conveyed everything he felt. He rarely discussed his blindness as a limitation. Instead, he presented it as simply a part of who he was, focusing entirely on the power of his music. He projected an image of dignified independence, a man who had overcome immense obstacles to achieve unparalleled success. Vivid scenes of Ray at work during his peak would include him in the recording studio, not just singing, but conducting the orchestra, meticulously arranging horns and strings, his ears acting as his eyes, hearing every subtle nuance. Producers and engineers marveled at his ability to identify a single out-of-tune instrument in a sprawling ensemble. He would often direct the session from the piano, his head bobbing, his fingers pointing, giving precise instructions to musicians who were often visually cueing off him. On tour, he was a tireless performer, playing countless shows a year, each one a masterclass in improvisation and raw emotion. He would interact with his band, the Raylets, their call-and-response harmonies adding another layer of depth to his performances. Fans would crowd the stage, mesmerized by his energy, drawn into the visceral experience of his music. His cultural impact was monumental. Ray Charles was not just an entertainer. He was a cultural architect. He dismantled the rigid walls between musical genres, proving that gospel, blues, jazz, and country were not disparate entities, but different expressions of the same human spirit. He opened doors for countless black artists, demonstrating that mainstream success was achievable without compromising one's artistic integrity. He became a symbol of triumph over adversity, an inspiration to millions who saw in his story a testament to the power of perseverance and talent. He influenced everyone from Elvis Presley and James Brown to the Beatles and Aretha Franklin. His sound was everywhere, an undeniable force that changed the landscape of popular music forever. He represented an authentic, unvarnished America, a melting pot of sounds and emotions, proving that genius knows no boundaries, no color, no sight. Every note, every performance, every audacious genre-bending experiment during this period solidified his legacy, painting the indelible portrait of a true American icon. Beyond the dazzling spotlight and the legendary stage persona, Ray Charles lived a secret personal life, a realm of inner conflicts, vulnerabilities, and profound struggles that were rarely glimpsed by the adoring public. Despite his immense success and the joyous energy he projected, Ray carried a deep-seated loneliness, a solitude that perhaps intensified with his blindness and the constant demands of fame. He was perpetually on the move, a touring musician who found it difficult to settle, to forge truly stable, long-term connections outside of the professional sphere. This nomadic existence, while essential for his career, often exacerbated an underlying sense of isolation. His personal struggles extended beyond loneliness. For much of his career, Ray battled a severe heroin addiction. This was his darkest secret, a shadow that trailed him from his early days in the jazz clubs of the Pacific Northwest through the height of his superstardom. The drug offered him a fleeting escape from the pressures of his life, from the constant demands, from the weight of his past traumas. He began using heroin as a young man, a common affliction in the jazz scene of the era, and it became a destructive crutch. This addiction led to numerous legal troubles, including multiple arrests, most notably in 1964 when he was arrested for possession of heroin. The incident threatened to derail his career and caused immense personal distress. This vulnerability was carefully guarded from his public, who largely remained unaware of the full extent of his struggle. He often referred to his addiction as his personal demon, a battle he fought in the silent hours, away from the cheers of the crowd. Ray's identity crisis, though perhaps not fully conscious, stemmed from the constant tension between the raw, blues gospel artist he was and the polished mainstream performer the industry sometimes expected him to be. He was a chameleon, effortlessly moving between genres, but sometimes, beneath the surface, there was a quiet struggle to remain true to his innermost artistic impulses while fulfilling commercial expectations. This constant artistic evolution, while a testament to his genius, also hinted at a relentless drive for perfection and a deeper search for his own unique sound, one that never truly rested. His family issues, beyond his complex romantic life and his multiple children, were also a source of private turmoil. The early death of his brother George, a trauma he witnessed as a child, left an indelible mark. He carried that grief throughout his life, a silent wound that never fully healed. He often reflected on his mother's unwavering strength and the profound impact she had on his life, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and responsibility towards her memory. These inner monologues, though rarely verbalized publicly, were evident in the soulful depth of his music, particularly in his most poignant ballads. He often found solace in writing music, transforming his internal pain into universal anthems of struggle and hope. His close, private relationships were few but vital. His bandmates, particularly the early members of the Raelettes like Margie Hendricks, witnessed his struggles firsthand. While his romantic relationships with some of them were tumultuous, there was often an underlying bond of shared experience, of life on the road, that created a unique kind of intimacy. Quincy Jones remained a lifelong friend, a confidant who understood the pressures of fame and the artistic drive that consumed Ray. Their friendship was built on mutual respect and a deep understanding of each other's creative spirits, offering Ray a rare space for unvarnished honesty. These friendships provided fleeting moments of solace, a space where he could drop the facade of the genius and simply be Ray. The pressures of fame, the constant demands of touring, the relentless pursuit of artistic perfection all contributed to these internal battles, pushing him to the brink at times. Yet, it was often from these very struggles that his most profound and enduring music emerged, a raw, honest expression of a man battling his demons while simultaneously soaring towards the heavens with his incomparable gift. The later years of Ray Charles's life, while still marked by occasional artistic triumphs and widespread adoration, saw a gradual, almost imperceptible decline in his output's raw commercial edge and a shift towards a more elder statesman role. He never truly retired, constantly performing, recording, and touring, but the relentless pace of his earlier career inevitably slowed. This period was not a sudden fall from grace, but a graceful, dignified winding down, shadowed by the natural progression of age and the persistent health challenges that often accompany a life lived with such intensity. His health, particularly in his final decade, began to present more significant hurdles. He battled various ailments, including hip problems that required surgery in 2003, making his movements more labored. His kidney function began to decline, leading to kidney disease, a condition that slowly sapped his strength. These were not sudden, dramatic crises, but a quiet, insidious erosion of his physical vitality, often hidden from the public eye during his carefully managed appearances. The impact on his closest confidants, his inner circle of family, musicians, and longtime assistants, was palpable. They witnessed the subtle shifts, the increasing fatigue, the moments of pain that he often stoically endured. Despite these physical challenges, his spirit remained fiercely independent and his mind sharp, particularly when it came to music. He continued to work on new material, his passion for creation undimmed. One of the most poignant aspects of his later life was the preparation for what would become his final album, Genius Loves Company. This project, conceived in his twilight years, saw him collaborating with a diverse array of contemporary artists, from Norah Jones and Diana Krall to Willie Nelson and Elton John. The recording sessions for this album, stretching over his last few years, became a testament to his enduring artistry and his remarkable resilience. There was a quiet dignity to these sessions, a sense of a titan passing on wisdom, sharing his incredible gift with a new generation. The specific circumstances of his final illness became increasingly severe in late 2003 and early 2004. His kidney disease progressed, necessitating regular dialysis treatments. He was admitted to St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, California, for complications related to his condition. The hospital room became his final stage, a quiet, sterile contrast to the vibrant concert halls he had commanded for decades. His family, including many of his children, gathered by his bedside, offering comfort and quiet companionship. The outside world, for the most part, remained unaware of the gravity of his condition, shielded by the privacy his family sought to maintain. His final moments were peaceful, surrounded by loved ones. He did not issue any dramatic last words, but his presence, even in profound weakness, conveyed a lifetime of experience, of music, of struggle, and of triumph. He passed away on June 10, 2004, at his home in Beverly Hills, California, at the age of 73. His death was not an accident or a sudden crisis, but the inevitable conclusion to a long, rich, and full life marked by illness in its final chapter. The news, when it finally broke, was met with a deep collective sigh of sorrow. The world had known he was ill, but the finality of his passing still hit with the weight of profound loss. The quiet dignity of his end was a stark contrast to the flamboyant public life he had led, bringing a poignant, almost solemn closure to the extraordinary saga of Ray Charles Robinson. The immediate aftermath of Ray Charles's death on June 10, 2004, reverberated across the globe like a mournful, soulful chord. The news hit the world with a profound sense of loss, igniting an outpouring of tributes and grief from every corner of the music industry, political figures, and millions of fans. For days, television and radio stations paused regular programming to play his iconic songs, broadcasting retrospectives of his unparalleled career. Artists from every genre, from rock and pop to jazz and country, offered heartfelt eulogies, sharing stories of his influence and the sheer magnetism of his musical genius. Quincy Jones, his lifelong friend, expressed profound sorrow, remarking, "The world has lost its most authentic voice." Ray Charles's funeral service was held on June 18, 2004, at the First AME Church in Los Angeles, California. The atmosphere was a blend of solemn reverence and a joyous celebration of his life and music. The church was filled to capacity, with thousands more gathering outside, eager to pay their respects. The attendees were a testament to his wide-ranging influence, including music legends like Stevie Wonder, B.B. King, Willie Nelson, and Little Richard. Political figures like Bill Clinton and Jesse Jackson also attended, underscoring his cultural significance beyond entertainment. The air inside the church was thick with emotion, punctuated by gospel hymns and soulful musical tributes. Stevie Wonder, visibly moved, performed a poignant rendition of "Georgia on My Mind," a song Ray had made famous, bringing many to tears. Speakers at the service recounted anecdotes of his fierce independence, his unparalleled talent, and his enduring spirit. His children, many of whom were present, mourned a father who, despite his complex personal life, had always remained a monumental figure in their lives. The media coverage was extensive and largely respectful, focusing on his immense contributions to music and his inspiring story of overcoming adversity. While his past struggles, particularly his battle with addiction, were sometimes acknowledged, the overwhelming narrative was one of triumph, of a blind man who opened the eyes of the world through his sound. Newspapers carried lengthy obituaries, chronicling his life from the humble beginnings in Georgia to his global superstardom. Magazines published special editions, adorned with his iconic image. The grief extended far beyond the celebrity sphere. Ordinary people who had grown up listening to his music felt a deep personal connection to him. They mourned not just an artist, but a voice that had been a soundtrack to their lives, accompanying them through moments of joy, sorrow, and reflection. Tributes poured in from around the world, from small towns to major capitals, a global chorus of appreciation for a man who had transcended boundaries of race, genre, and physical limitation. The public mourning was a powerful affirmation of his universal appeal, a testament to the way his music spoke to the human condition, raw and unfiltered. In those days following his passing, the collective sorrow underscored the immense void left by the departure of a true original, a genius whose legacy was destined to endure. Ray Charles's long-term legacy is not merely etched in the annals of music history. It is a living, breathing force that continues to reshape the industry and influence global consciousness. He didn't just play music, he transmuted it, fusing disparate genres into a revolutionary sound that redefined American popular music. His creation of soul music, by blending the sacred fervor of gospel with the secular grit of blues, was a foundational act. He then fearlessly expanded this vision, taking country and Western songs, jazz standards, and pop ballads, and imbuing them with his distinct, soulful essence. This audacious genre bending broke down walls that had long separated musical forms, proving that emotion and authenticity transcended categories. His influence can be heard in countless artists who followed, from James Brown and Aretha Franklin to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, all of whom acknowledged his profound impact on their sound. He essentially wrote the blueprint for modern R&B and laid significant groundwork for rock and roll. Culturally, Ray Charles became a towering symbol of triumph over adversity. His story, the blind orphan from rural Georgia who became a global superstar, resonated deeply with millions. He inspired generations, demonstrating that physical limitations need not be barriers to achieving greatness. He navigated a predominantly sighted world with unparalleled self-reliance and dignity, challenging perceptions of disability and showcasing the extraordinary capabilities of the human spirit. He implicitly contributed to the civil rights movement, not through overt activism, but by simply being Ray Charles, a Black artist who commanded respect and adoration from audiences of all races, a testament to his talent transcending racial divides. Lingering myths and common misconceptions about Ray often center on his blindness. Some believed it gave him a supernatural hearing ability or that it was the sole source of his genius. While his other senses undoubtedly sharpened to compensate, his musical brilliance was rooted in innate talent, relentless practice, and an unparalleled understanding of harmony and melody. The widely distributed film Ray, 2004, helped to humanize him, revealing the personal struggles behind the legend, particularly his battle with heroin addiction, which was often a heavily guarded secret during his lifetime. The film, while a powerful portrayal, also solidified certain aspects of his public image, sometimes simplifying the complexity of his personal relationships and his spiritual journey. His story continues to resonate because it is profoundly human. It speaks to the universal themes of overcoming hardship, the relentless pursuit of one's passion, the complexities of love and family, and the search for meaning. Ray's life was a testament to resilience. He fell, he stumbled, but he always rose, driven by an inner fire. He taught us that true vision comes not from the eyes, but from the soul. His raw, honest vocal delivery, capable of expressing every nuance of the human condition, ensured his music remains timeless. He was a pioneer who refused to be confined by expectations, a true original who forged his own path. What lessons can be drawn from his experiences for contemporary audiences? Perhaps it is the importance of authenticity, of embracing one's unique voice, even if it defies convention. It is a reminder that true genius often emerges from the crucible of struggle, and that the most profound art is often born from the deepest personal truths. His enduring impact lies in the way he moved us, not just with his songs, but with the sheer force of his extraordinary life. The final notes of the piano fade, leaving a profound silence in the vast, echoing concert hall. But the music, born from a spirit unbound by sight, continues to reverberate in the hearts and minds of millions. Ray Charles Robinson, the boy from rural Georgia who faced darkness before he truly saw the light, carved a path entirely his own, transforming hardship into harmony and pain into profound beauty. He was a testament to the indomitable human will, a living embodiment of the fact that true vision transcends the physical, residing instead in the depths of one's soul. His life was a symphony of contradictions, the soaring highs of unparalleled success interwoven with the deep, somber tones of personal struggle, the public legend of the genius concealing the vulnerable man grappling with his demons. Yet, through every challenge, every triumph, his voice remained constant, a raw, emotive channel to the universal human experience. He taught us that boundaries are merely illusions, that music knows no color, no genre, no physical limitation, but only the infinite capacity of the heart to feel. As the spotlight dims and the ghostly outline of the grand piano becomes one with the shadows, we are left not with an absence, but with a presence. The echoes of his laughter, his cries, his gospel shouts and bluesy moans linger in the air, a constant reminder of a man who dared to be truly, gloriously himself. He opened our ears to a new sound, and in doing so, opened our hearts to a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. His journey concludes, but the melody, once heard, is never truly forgotten. It lives on, a testament to the profound power of a single soul to illuminate the world, one timeless, unforgettable note at a time.